He doesn't need to speak. Rahfael Gordon will motivate you with his mere presence. This combined with his jaw-dropping personal life experiences will give you chills and eventually transform not only your life, but your mindset. That's big words. It's said from a Mexican, and I could go on because there's lots of them. Anyhow, the thing about Rahfael is that his life journey has a story, and we will come back to that story, and we will come back to a couple of other stories on the way. But from what I've heard is that you didn't start up with a tie and like a house like this. What I've heard is that your journey actually started on the streets.
Absolutely. So first and foremost, just thank you for having me here. It's a packed house, so this is beautiful. When I first started entrepreneurship, or when I wanted to go into it, I call this an opportunity. I had an opportunity to know what it was like to be homeless, to know what it's like to not have anything. And I call it an opportunity because within that process, or within that moment of not having, there were many lessons along the way that I learned. I learned about being humble so that when I do have, I can appreciate it more. I learned things about loyalty and about what happens when you don't have anything and who's actually going to be there for you when you don't have it. So along the way, I'm from Newark, New Jersey, and many of the individuals that were my age as teens or just young kids, we were prone to not make it by 25. It was stated that statistically, a young minority from Newark, New Jersey would pass away or be in jail and prison by 25. So in my mind, I said, how could I be the example that statistic is not correct? And so entrepreneurship was my tool to help provide that platform for me to not only tell my story, but also to prove that with resilience and with great work ethic, you can achieve some great things. So, I'm the oldest out of 4 boys. I had an opportunity to know what it's like to have my mother and my father living in the household together, and what it's like to come home and my dad hugs me and gives me kisses, and my mom saying, how was school and things like that. But along the way, things changed. And when things change, you start to question, if you love me, or if this environment that we're in, does it cultivate love? And if it doesn't, why am I here? And so along the way, I lost my younger brother to gangs, and he ended up going to prison. My brother after that was murdered, and he was murdered through gang violence. And then my brother after that, the third one, and he's 2 years younger than me, he didn't want neither of the two. He didn't want prison, and he didn't want to join any of the gangs, so he ended up leaving the state, which was in New Jersey, to be away from that environment that would give you that only option, which we thought. So I'm by myself, to me, and there were moments where I was so mad, so upset, because these individuals that I love were the only individuals that I thought could understand what I was going through. So so I made a promise to my brothers, I made a promise to my grandparents, I made a promise to my friends that I would not stop. My brothers and I had this quote we would say, can't stop, won't stop. And I know, how many of you guys know P. Diddy? Yeah, everybody knows P. Diddy. That's his slogan. And then as I got older, mine was, your location is not your destination. Your location is not your destination. And so along the way, I went off to high school, and I got a chance to graduate, became the first in my immediate family, out of my brothers and my parents, to get a college degree. But in the midst of all that, I used entrepreneurship to keep me busy, to provide money and revenue so I can feed myself, as well as to be able to take care of myself when I became a young adult. And here I am now in Norway, still in it's unbelievable, the emotion, the energy, and I'm just very thankful for that.
Wow. How do you move on from that? The thing is, in this city, I have a few friends. They are actually sitting on the streets. I'm one of the other ones talking to them. But I don't see any of them actually coming in your league at any time, and I try to help them any way I can. What made the change for you? Why did you go from the streets and then have a transition?
I think one of the things too is that along the way, and I'm pretty sure a lot of us can probably relate to this, there were individuals who took the role of the individuals that weren't there. So my mother and my father weren't there, but when I went to school, there was a principal who would hug me. There was the person who worked with the mayor in the city who would ask me to come to the office for 1 hour once a week. He didn't ask me to come every day, he said once a week on a Wednesday. And I used to be so excited to go that I would just tell all my friends. And along the way, there was books that I started reading, and the people that I wanted to become, I wanted to be a great entrepreneur. And so I realized that most of the entrepreneurs that I met or that I seen on television, like Sir Richard Branson and all these different individuals, even Steve Jobs and whatnot, the way that they carried themselves. I looked at Reginald F. Lewis, who is one of the first African-American billionaires from America. He was always in a suit, and he always had a briefcase. So at 13 years old, most of us would go to school in a book bag, but I have a suitcase and my suit on. And that was my method. My work ethic and my mindset was to, if something is not right to me, how can I change it? So the books that I read, the people that I started to change, my circle has to change because you reflect your environment and the people that you are connected to. You ever heard that, the 5 people that you are around are the people you reflect? So it's very important to make sure that the individuals that you are connected to were either on your level or higher. And so, because what happens is there's no competition, it's only growth together. And so that was what I was doing to get out of my situation. And I tried to find ways of not trying to fall trap. I was a very likable person. I was very charismatic. I was a very outgoing and social person. And that was a great thing, but I also knew when to say no. And I think that as great entrepreneurs, as many of us are in here, it's important to know when no is a great thing for us. Because we can't accept everything in our lives and in our circle because we got things to do. We got families, we got to change, and my goal is to change the world for the better. So I can't take every opportunity, but the right opportunity that comes my way is for the things that will help make me a great person or a superhero in the world to move forward to help change it.
It has been said about you that your cultural development is highly effective. It has also been said that he engages the hearts and minds of your people so that they are committed to the new vision, direction and values and inspired to do their best work.
Yes.
In that, on that journey, you have a methodology. And I would like to speak a little bit about that, but also in accordance to entrepreneurship.
Yes.
It is said that it is hard to attract and retain quality people. What should we do?
I think one of the most important things is to create the space that those individuals can grow in. Most organizations and most people, whether it's a personal circle or your business circle, you have a moment where you have to help the individual grow. And the question is, when you're creating, when you're an entrepreneur, you're creating a business, but you're also creating a culture. And what happens is when the first interview, the way you carry yourself in your conversation is all a part of reflection of your culture. So now the thing is for me is to say, well, how do I do that? How do I nurture or keep an individual? And my thing is to make sure that there's 3 things. There's relate, there's value, and there's enhancement. I have to be able to relate to the individuals that's working within my organization or the ones that's connected to me. Because when you relate to them, there's a common thread. There's something that keeps you attached. The value piece comes into saying, I value the people that I'm relating to. Meaning to let them know that I know your ability, I know what you're about, and I'm there for you. And the enhancement part is to say that whatever you have, a service, a product, or whatever it is in your business, it enhances the individuals that you're serving or that you're giving a product to. Why? Because entrepreneurs, no matter what country you're in, you're a servant. You're serving particular people, and in hindsight, you're also serving humanity. So what do you do, and what do you create that enhances the individuals that you're connected to, and the ones that are drawn to you? And so so for me, like when I have my clients, or when I'm speaking to the young kids, and when they're talking about, hey, Rob Gore, could you be my mentor? My thing is what are you about? What connects you to me? And let's see if we can intensify that so I can open you up more to the things that I do have that you probably not even known about that could be able to make you a better person in the world.
Right. Sometimes we recruit the wrong team or the wrong people into the team. So we get lack of enthusiasm for the business. What do we do next?
Well, It's very important to, and you know, it varies from time to time. I think we earlier had a conversation about how can we change certain problems, whatever countries, I would say specifically here in Norway. And one of the things is to know what you want. My thing is that so for me personally, I have a personal mission statement. And my personal mission statement is something that I say to myself every day before I go to bed and when I wake up in the morning. And so what happens is the individuals that I talk to, the people I do business with, the meetings I have, even dealing with family members or friends or whatnot, I have to ask myself the question, is the conversation that we're having, is it relevant to my mission? Because if it's not, I can't give them the opportunity for this time because my time is limited. I only have one life to live. And so what I do is I have to ask myself, who has the privilege of my time, and vice versa. When someone allows you to have a meeting, if someone says, I like your idea, it's a privilege for you to be in their presence because the time that they have is limited. So you have to appreciate that. Now, when individuals, you'll pick, sometimes I've had plenty of people who I've met along the way, and sometimes I thought they were the best person for my team. And you make those mistakes, but a friend of mine used to say, you fail your way to success. And I truly believe that. You can't be scared to fail. You can't be scared to know that you'll make a mistake and pick the wrong person. There's times I was in school, in high school, even in elementary school, I picked the wrong choice. Oh my God, and I got it wrong. But, and I studied my butt off. But at the end of the day, I have to understand that I'm still a student. I'm still great at what I do, and I don't let that hinder me.
A few years back, I was doing a consultant job for Statens Legemiddelkontroll, the governmental medical authorities of Norway. And I had to do training of the main team there. And the managing director, in her calendar, because I had to find out where they are all available, it said TTMS. And whenever I tried to put it together, she was always occupied with this TTMS. And in English, it's time for myself. In Norwegian, it's tid til meg selv. Because I had to go and ask her. And actually, one of the things that I learned from your book, which is like amazing, but I will come back to the book, okay. But it's like sometimes you are like very, very focused on that time for yourself, actually silence. Can you tell us about that?
I love silence. I mean, I don't know about you, I love quietness. It's like, and when you're working in New York City, it's always busy, so you have to find that solitude area. So for me, I do a lot of meditation. So I can get up at 5:30 in the morning, and I'll meditate for 30 minutes. There's times where I meditate for 2 hours. And it's just that moment where I need to collect my thoughts. I think it's important that you make time for yourself. We all have our cell phones and maybe attached to Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest. It's like so many different social media sites and there's so many different websites. But it's important to shut all that off because you're letting in so much. And you got so many ideas, so many people telling you what to do, what's right. How many times have you Googled something and it's like 100 different people telling you the same thing in different ways and forms? That's their opinion. So you just shut that off and say to yourself, so for me it's like, what is right? What is my gut saying? Because at the end of the day, I have this ability, I have this talent, but I gotta make sure that I'm sharpening it. Do you digest the information that you read? Do you digest the information that you have with your mastermind circle or with the people that you have as your advisors and your mentors? So for me, I love meditation. Even prior to this, I had the orchestra playing on YouTube, and I let that play, and I'll make a cup of green tea, and I'll just relax. And sometimes my friends say, it's too quiet in here. I said, nope, it's perfect. This is perfect. So, I'm very much about being centered. And I'm very much about for you to elevate to the next level, you have to be centered, and that keeps the balance. So for me, it's like if you can be as quiet, keep the environment around you as quiet and silent as possible, I think you can always hear the answers. Always there. It's that you just have to quiet the noise so you can hear that particular answer.
There's another aspect of this, and that is that, like you said, you actually kind of believe that you only live once. And that you have to take care of that time. Yeah. But you also have a mindset about that you have to take care of your body because you only have one body.
Yeah, very much so. I think, the American diet, we're about burgers and pizzas and hot dogs, so, amazing. But my thing is, I try my best to eat my greens. You know, I try my best to, and this is something that I learned from my mentor. He said to me, Rahfael, you're going to be great one day. You're going to probably be very successful in all the things that you create and do. But the question is, are you taking care of yourself so you can actually see what happens with the things that you're creating right now? What good is it to create a business and not take care of yourself? Because you may end up being so unhealthy with your body that you won't be able to actually see and enjoy the fruits of your labor. Why work so hard on something and not be able to enjoy it? That doesn't make any sense to me. So I think it's very important to take care of our bodies. You know, your bodies always give you those little twerks. You wake up in the morning, it's like, you know what? You know, I'm not 15 anymore. You know, I'm not 12 anymore. So the thing is, how do you do that? So for me, I do my stretch. Of course, I stretch. I do my runs in the morning. I usually hit the gym. You know, so I try to be as Superman if I can. But it's very important to take care of your body. And I think that when you again align yourself centered, mind, body, and spirit, get your mind right, get your body right, and you'll be centered spiritually. And I think that will be able to keep you for the long haul. Because that's what it's about. It's about living life to the best of your ability, and your ability to, and how you work on everything, as your personal self as well as others, for others. It'll be amazing. Amazing.
I actually read your book, but the thing is, when you came, I said, so how do you want your coffee? But you don't drink it.
Not really, no. I do my tea. It's just, I don't know. I know this is probably is this a coffee land? Does anybody? Yeah. So actually, Prashant gave me coffee this morning. Actually, he said, "How do you like your coffee?" And I was like, I guess cream, sugar. I don't know. So he's like, all right, mate. So I had my coffee today, but I get a rush just waking up in the morning. I won't even lie, I can't even exaggerate, but I get a rush waking up in the morning, knowing I was blessed enough to wake up in the morning to have another opportunity to meet somebody new, to be in the land that I never thought that I would be in, but I'm here and I'm loving it. And also being able to know that what I created in my teens and the things that I was actually thinking about came to fruition, and I'm here to see it. And with the word I love is transcending. Because there's a moment when an individual, no matter what country you're from, no matter the language, no matter what you're an artist, you are a businessman, when you really have a sense of knowing who you are and what you like and what you don't like, when you meet people, they meet you. And we just had this conversation about the aspect of people will put you in a box based upon where you're from and things like that. But the moment that you know who you are, and when someone says, hey, how are you? What's your name? My name is Rahfeal. Gordon. What do you do? I change lives. I inspire lives. I want to see humanity be great. But that's me. Whether I'm on the stage, whether I'm in the office, everything I do is about how can I do that? But it goes back to coffee. I know that I love tea, and that's what I share and tell.
What about more magic? What do you eat?
I'm just a
what
foodie.
you don't?
What I don't eat. All thing I can say I don't eat is pork. But I'm a foodie. So if you have a new dish, if you got a new recipe before I leave, please share it, because I will make sure I'm in the kitchen when I get back to the U.S. and I will definitely cook up.
Anyway, we will go on, but any of you have any questions?
Yeah, one of them.
You back?
I'll just speak. So you seem like a very reflective person. You reflected on your own journey. My question, by the way, thank you so much for coming today. It was incredible, very inspiring.
Thank you.
So yeah, my question is, the kind of mindset that you have, how do you, for example, instill that in kids that don't have the best of circumstances to grow up in? How do you use entrepreneurship to sort of inspire that kind of mindset?
So for me, I have a lot of young people who I mentor, and so what I do is I notice they're visual. So when you get older, you get more technical, you want the detail, the research. They want the ending. They want to see that the individual who's giving them this insight looks or exudes what you're talking about. So my thing is to actually show them and put them in environments that they've never been in, so that they can be inspired. So example, I want to bring my mentees to Norway. I do projects where I take the young kids to get ice cream. There's a place called Cold Stone Creamery in New Jersey, in New York. I don't know if they have it here, but Cold Stone Creamery is an amazing creamery, ice cream parlor. And with the kids, I bring them there when they're young. They're in preschool. They're very little. But every year, as long as they're young, I bring them. And as they get older, they say, Rod Gore got me ice cream. Rod Gore got me ice cream. And then it goes, Rod Gore is a businessman. Rod Gore is a businessman. Rod Gore taught me this. And then what happened, it goes on and on. So my thing is to know exactly what they like. And in the midst of having ice cream, I talk to them about life. How do you feel? What makes you happy? What's your dreams? Has anybody hurt you? Why? Why do you feel that way? Because I think for the young people in New York, or just in general, from the young kids that I've met, they want to be heard. They want someone to listen to them. So if you just, again, the quiet time, just give them the space to express themselves, and then you'll become the example of who they may want to be inspired to be.
Another one?
Not at once, not all at once.
I have a question. What was that? You talked about your mentor?
Yes.
Can you say something about, because if you're like that, I'm so curious, how is he? Like
I have a plethora of mentors. Two in particular who I truly adore. One is Michael Armstrong. He's the VP of he's in Viacom, and he runs many other brands under Viacom, which is a big media conglomerate in the U.S. And so we'll have meetings, and he'll just ask me questions like, how's life, how things are going, here's the book you should read. And he shares who his mentors are. Like, his mentors write books, so this is a beautiful thing. When I go to the meeting with him, maybe it'll be twice out the year, but we'll keep in contact via email. He'll say to me, what's the new book? Or we'll exchange books. So what's been very interesting is that he'll give me a book that he's read, and I'll give him a book that I published. And he gets so excited about that, but he loves it because he sees that what he instilled in me is actually showing. Another one is Mark French. Mark French is an amazing entrepreneur. He took a leap leaving NBC and started a company, a product called Court Grip, because he felt that it was important that basketball players have complete grip for their sneakers. And I watched and listened to him talk every day about what he was trying to do, trying to be great at creating the best product. And seeing his work ethic and seeing how he also managed family, because he is married with kids, it's important. It was something that I had to embrace and say, wow, this is something amazing, to try to find that balance. So they've always talked to me and just and clap me on. You did great. Now go higher. You did great. Go farther. So those are like two mentors I can think offhand that are great. Marsha Rawls, who's down in D.C., phenomenal entrepreneur, and my grandmother. I love my grandmother. She was my first investor. My first, and I call her Shorty. Like, it's a term of endearment. So Shorty is a term we used to call like our girlfriends. But what happened was I called my grandmother Shorty one day. She says, if you're calling all these girls Shorty, don't call me Shorty. So I said, I will never call a girl Shorty, only you. And then she gets all red and excited. So that's something that I love too, to say every time I do something that makes her happy, I'm making my mentor happy. So, yeah.
In your other answer, you was mentioning branding. And
Yeah.
it has been said about you that Rahfael Gordon provides clients with an understanding of the Ragor methodologies and strategies used for building and maintaining their brands and identity within a focused environment. How to create a strategic plan for long-term brand health? You have a system for this.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the transformation. Again, people don't do business with businesses, they do business with people. So the brand is you always. You're an entrepreneur. So when they walk into a meeting, they're not getting a pamphlet, they're getting their first introduction or impression of you. So how are you, branding you? And so my strategy, again, is always about relating. It's always about increasing value. When you are in your office, how do you work to be for the betterment of someone else? Because you got to lower the ego. It's not like I work hard for my clients. I work hard for the people that want to learn from me. So I spend a ton of time. I think it's important to spend a ton of time doing research, because there should be like for branding, it should be an exit strategy in your plan. At a certain point when your business, you should be wanting to exit out so you can work on it, not to work in it. In the beginning, startups, you're working in your business. But at a certain point, you got to exit out of that because you should already have implemented a particular strategy, branding strategy as well, so that you can work on it. When you're working on your business, you have time to be innovative, to be creative. You have time to research. You have time to travel to places like Norway for weeks to get an understanding of this culture and how can I bring my company and the things that I do here. So I think it's important to, again, understand that when you're dealing with your clients or when you're dealing with your business, to it's again, the three things, and it's great leadership for an entrepreneur is relate, value, and enhance.
You have another saying, and that is that many people believe that effective communication is watching what comes out of your mouth. But then you say that what these individuals fail to realize is that one of the strongest forms of communication is body language.
Surely. Language is pretty much about 80%. Everything is nonverbal. 80% of communication is nonverbal. So, I can greet somebody without saying something, and they can probably get a sense of how I feel or what I'm saying to someone or what I want to convey to you. The colors that you wear. How you eat your food, how you even present something. All these different things are communication. What does your website look like? Even if you are a great business person, woman or male, man or woman, what is it that defines you differently in terms of, because when you look at like for me, I had a website when I first started, very, very young. I had a website that I thought was amazing. I thought was awesome. But everyone who went there and said, "This is not you." They said, when I see this is what I see. I'm like, that's not what you're perceiving is what you're getting from this is not who I am. So I had to realize that I have to put things into the world that represent and connects to me, relates to me, without me saying it. When I send somebody to a meeting and I'm not there, that person reflects me. It's still nonverbal communication. But they're an extension of me. Everything that you do is an extension. So it's very important to make sure that you have a clear message and that everything that you have, whether it's the outfit, the paperwork, everything is connected to that message and it's very clear.
You also have a system for increasing your non-verbal intelligence. Can you tell us about it?
Well, I think one thing is for sure, like let's say, I think it's important to constantly to learn, to be a student. When I talked about the mission statement and the mission, it has to be clear and precise. It has to be transcending. It has to be to the point where a little kid can understand. Your intelligence, your IQ level for what you do has to be so up there. Because I feel that if you want to take on the role of being a entrepreneur, why not be the best entrepreneur that you can be? You have all the opportunities in the world now. You have access to global research. You have access to all these different tools. I told one of my business partners, I said, why would you want to create a business on a local level when you can create it in this community, but it can have a global effect? You read global books. You read books about leaders from other countries. You love businesses that weren't created in this country. So why not take it to that next level? You cannot be a person saying, I'm great, and then you sit home all day and do nothing but watch television. People that create great things spend a great amount of time developing it. And to do that, it's going to take a lot of research, a lot of trial and error, but that increases your IQ. The process of trying and failing, it increases your IQ because you learn so much in the midst of that process.
Then at some point you decided that this was going to be a book project too.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Long story short, I had a TV deal that was offered to me for a reality show back in 2005, 2006. And what happened was, right before the filming was going to be done in Chicago for 8 weeks, I tore my Achilles tendon and I couldn't walk for almost, about a year and a half going through the healing process. And because it was a lot of physical activity, I couldn't do nothing. So I had a friend that was living in Los Angeles, California, and she was starting a publishing company. She says, Rahfael, I think it'd be great if you could tell your story and share some of your insight and methods. So I said, you know, that'd be great. And she said, I want to be your publisher because it may be difficult to get a big publishing company, but if I'm starting out, I would love to have my friend to be my first client. We agreed on it. But what happened was, over a time period, she didn't have enough funding to market me the way that I wanted to. So the beauty thing about relationships, because we had a great relationship through the business and keeping in contact and knowing each other's family, she said to me, because I can't afford to pay for the marketing, I'm gonna do something better. I'm gonna show you how to create your own publishing company, and you can market the way however you wanna do it. And so that's when Rahfeal Publishing was started. And I published my first book the year later, and then right before the first book had launched, I ended up renting out the 6th largest theater in America, which is New Jersey Performing Arts Center, and sold it out in 2 months. And this is before Facebook. This is during MySpace. You guys had MySpace pages? Oh my, MySpace. But that's where that came about. And then here I am, 10 years later, with my 10th book.
Fantastic story. The thing about your last book, this one, Skyscraper, I have a tendency that when I meet people and they ask, do you have kids and so on, I have to like try to get them into my story. Like the thing is, you know, that I tend to change them every 7 years. And I have a daughter, she's 31, but she doesn't have the same mother as my son and so on. And I was wandering around, you know, because my parents were together like for 55 years.
That's beautiful.
And why doesn't I do the same? And then I couldn't find the answer for like 35 years. Then I found this book, and on page 23, he actually explained why it's like that.
I want to take all the credit.
Yeah, you call it the 3 stages of transformation.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us about it?
The 3 stages of transformation. When I wrote this book, I started writing this book when I was taking a course at Harvard on executive communication. And so I told my professor that I have this idea, this method I'm going to be hashing out. And so for a year and a half, I decided to work on this book. I said, it's not going to be about how much I write, it's about what I write. And so the 3 stages of transformation came about in my thoughts, and it was in regards to chaos, ruins, and transcending. Those are the 3 stages. The first stage is chaos. Chaos is where you have a particular goal in mind, you know, maybe starting a business, or you know, you're probably moving into a new country, or whatever the case may be. What happens is your goals that you're trying to achieve, it challenges your belief system. It challenges the things that you're used to, because your goals that are becoming bigger, or the things that you're trying to achieve and do, it takes you out your comfort zone. So it causes inner conflict. It causes you to question things. It causes you to say, I can't do this anymore. Even though I love to, I gotta spend time here. So it causes chaos. It can cause shakes in your relationship with people and different things like that, because your particular dream or goal that you're trying to achieve is not the goal in the dream that everybody else has. So it's gonna take you to a different route, take you on a different road. So what happens is, when a person says, okay, I'm gonna still go through this stage of chaos, they go to the second stage. They go to the stage of ruins. Now, ruins is where you are after everything is done. It's after your goals has been achieved. It's what happens after your goal has not been, if you have given up, if friends left, family left, if your business has failed, if it's succeeded. It's where you are after everything, when the smoke has cleared. Now, what's beautiful about the stage of ruins is, like in our reality, people spend millions and millions of dollars traveling to go to Rome, to go to Greece, to look at these monuments that aren't in their perfection anymore. But yet people are still intrigued by it because they're still standing. So individuals who are in a stage of ruins are the individuals that are still standing through it all. And then but what happens is, many people do not leave that stage, because they know that as long as they continue to pursue, they may have this chaos that they had in the first stage. So what they do is, for the very few, and there's always only a few, that says, you know what, even though I failed, even though I lost this, even though I gained this, I'm gonna still keep going. And what happens is, they reach a particular goal or achievement that they never even imagined, and they begin to transform. They start to transcend. One of my favorite individuals who I think about that as a pure example of this stages is Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs created something that has transcended like everyone in the world knows about Steve Jobs. They know about his phones, they know about the technology. He failed in the beginning, but he didn't stop. They bring him back. He said, no, I'm going to take an apple. I'm going to come back. And one of the things he said in his first meeting was, we need to change this culture. We need to actually go back and we need to start from scratch. And when he released his first commercial, all it was pictures of individuals who were considered great from every different, from all walks of life, from Gandhi, Martin Luther King. He had Sir Richard Brunson. He had all these, Muhammad Ali, all these individuals. And even in the cities in which he was launching these particular items, those were the pictures that you see on these huge billboards with just the term Apple, just the logo. But that's what happens when you transcend. You don't know how far you can go until you take it there. You don't know how far, but you got to go through the stages. So the question I always leave, and even talking to you now, is what stage are you in? Are you in the chaos stage? Are you in the ruin stage? Or are you transcending now? Because you know what stage you're on based upon the results that you're getting, and also how it's making you feel and how you're reacting to it once it's in your forefront.
We'll talk to the audience in a minute. There's one thing that you have read or you have written about in the 3 stages, and that is that friends and even family may not be for life,
right,
but they can come and go, and that's part of the journey.
Yeah, it's part of the journey. Yeah, I'm a huge lover. I love people. I love humanity. And I think it's important to realize in the beginning it was very difficult because I had friends that I truly, truly adored. And as time progressed, we started to separate, whether it's for our goals, some may want to start their families early. But I think it's important to never feel that that may leave, that may happen just forever, because people do come back around. I think that one thing you learn through maturity and through age as becoming an adult is that people have their own goals. They have their own journey in life. They have their own reason for being here on this planet. So you have to respect the decisions that they make as well as they respecting yours. But just be thankful for what they did for you with the time that you had spent with them. I'm always in the morning, along with my meditation, I'm very thankful. I always say, thank you, God, thank you, universe, for allowing me to have these people in my life for however long they're here. Thank you for allowing me to see people that I've never thought I'd see before. Thank you for the quotes that they've given me, the books that they've given me, the people who came into my life for just for one day, the ones that came into my life for 2 years, 3 years. Because that's important, but that also lets you know what type of person I am, especially when it comes to entrepreneurship. Because when it comes to a client, I'm gonna treat you the same way. I love you enough to give you this attention so I can make you a better person. And here's what I can do for you with love and with intensity and with as much charisma and energy as possible.
Any questions?
I have a question. You said when you go to office, have you created some kind of space, building, whatever, for others to come in and do stuff with you, or how are you operating on a daily basis?
That's a good question. We're having a lot of dialogue about finding the different spaces that I can actually put my stamp of approval on, like to be a part of. Because in the city, in New York, there are many entrepreneurship spaces now. And so my question is, where is the most intense energy at? Where can I actually teach the individuals? So I'm very choosy, which can be a good and bad thing because it can take up so much time. But I do try to find the spaces that's possible for these individuals to be a part of. So it's in dialogue now. So I'm pretty sure by the end of 2016, I'll probably have a few more if we ever have a conversation again. But even like here, like this is a prime example. Like this is a partnership. And so for all of you to be here is the space in which we have to have this dialogue, which should be done all over the world, So here, this is a great example of that here at the Hub.
I was going over to New York in November, so I thought I would just ask you if you had something.
Oh, absolutely. And send me an email. I'll take you to lunch.
Deal.
All right, there you go.
I know one that always has something to ask about.
Well, now I'm just sitting back and enjoying, Well, you were talking about the kids, the preschoolers, etc. Now in this room, well, we're not kids anymore, unfortunately.
Right.
But we're all kids in one way or another, right? Mm-hmm. So what would be that one piece of advice for that almost kid there and the almost kid there as we all are growing, right? We're all on some sort of journey, on some sort of what's that one little piece of advice that we should think about tonight, tomorrow morning in the shower, and when we will go for a walk on Sunday, whatever? What's the sort of,
and this is going to be as precise, and this is my belief system now. Be a superhero. Be a amazing, phenomenal, real superhero. I say that because superheroes are individuals, and we all know plenty of them that we probably grew up with and seen their movies, but individuals who are for the greater good of humanity. And no matter if they get crucified, no matter if they are told that they can't do it, every day superheroes still go back out and still do it. How many times has Spider-Man been chased by the police officers and he still goes out and save people? How many times has Superman been talked about through the Daily Planet, or just one of the news with Lois Lane works for? Like, these are individuals who, no matter what, and I think Batman, that's my favorite superhero because he's the closest thing to reality because he was an entrepreneur. But at night, what did he do? He saved the city that was in need. And even though they did not like him, they still called upon him because they knew that no matter what happens, he's needed. So my thing is that for the young kids, and even for us, the kid that's within us, is to find out what is your superpower and use entrepreneurship as your cape and fly in the world. I mean, don't just think, do amazing things in your community and make that your example that why you can succeed in other countries as well and help them do the same thing. And then be partners, be the Avengers, be those individuals that come together as a whole for humanity to do good in the world. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's about, influence. We're all human. If my friend that's in Norway is affected by a change here, I'm gonna feel it in New York City because we're connected. So now I'm thinking in New York, how can I be a resource to my friend that's in Oslo, Norway, so that he or she does not have to feel the pain or the agony that comes with failing or going through that particular process. So again, I think it's important to now make superheroes real and let you be that superhero, and so the next generation that comes along can do amazing things, and you can see it happening while you're here taking care of your body and your mind and your spirit.
The theory about the superhero is on page 17 or something. I read about it in the book. Any other questions?
What kind of meditation regime do you follow? Like transcendental meditation? Or?
It's funny because I always ask, some people ask me that question. There is no particular way, whatever makes me feel good. Like, so for me, I literally, I can't fold my legs. It's really weird. I've played sports for so long, so I'm always, sometimes I go to some temple sometime and I sit in a monastery and I'll just sit on a chair like this and have my hands folded. But I literally just sit. I try to do as much, it's all about reflecting, but then also letting your thoughts go. So my thing is just to sit. There's no perfect, there's no right or wrong way when it comes to meditation and Zen, creating that Zen in your life. It's all about just what you do to get you in that particular moment, to get you centered. Because what works for me may not work for you, and it's okay. So if you feel that standing up and being quiet is your meditation, great. If dancing in the living room in your boxers with a broom makes you feel amazing, then you do that. But I feel that, for me, it's just literally just sitting, no music. Sometimes I'll probably put on like a movie score, and I kind of make myself feel like I love James Bond's movie scores. I think James Bond is amazing. So I'll sit in the chair and I'm like, yeah, that's me all day, yes. And that's what I would do, but it gets my mind revved up in regards to for the next day or for the day of.
Talking about movies, you have a favorite one. We will go back to it. You have a favorite one that is mentioned in the book.
Oh.
Julia Roberts is the hint.
Oh yeah, eat, pray, love. Don't judge me. Don't judge me. Pray, eat, love. Don't judge me. Yeah, I just
tell about the theory about the film, and you keep on going back and watch it over and over.
Yeah, again. I just think that what I didn't read the book, but I'm pretty sure they said the book is way better than the movie because it leaves out so many parts. But like she transformed. She went through chaos. She went through ruin. She went through a transformation stage. But just to ask her where she found her peace. She thought that she had to travel all over the world to find her center. And her center was literally always with her. I like how when the guy asks her questions like, he's like, hey girlfriend, interior decorate yourself, your inner self. And I thought that was important. Like, you have to start within you. You cannot move forward until you have moved forward within. Everything starts with the visualization. If I know that I was like, I see myself in Norway. Okay, I need to see it first before I go, and that's what a lot of the little nooks and crannies they were giving, the little jewels. And there's a part in there about the ruins. And they talked about how interesting that when the ruins, like I think it was one of the building structures was still there, but over the time, it was used for different things. It was never used for what it was intended to be, but yet still here it is. And I thought that was amazing. I look at it as my life. You know, I've seen some things, I've experienced some things, some heartaches, which I'm pretty sure we all have, some happy moments, some bad moments, but I'm still here. And while I'm here, I might as well make the best of it, you know, create a couple of smiles, you know, hug a few people, high five them, just as she did, so throughout the film.
Actually, that was a good ending of it, but we can't. Go ahead.
So do you ever use the power of negative visualization to overcome fear, or
Use the power of negativity?
negative visualization, like to see what might happen if you don't make a choice, or
You know what? Now I don't. I literally you know how they would say plan for the worst? You ever heard that statement? Plan for the worst? I don't. I plan for the best. I have to change my mindset. I'm working hard to be great. I'm working hard to give you the best. So my focus should be specifically on the things that's going to be able to solve problems. The more attention you give negativity, the more it hurts you. The more it drags you away from the solution. So for me, I feel where I am now amazes many people that I know personally, because they say, look, we knew you were going to do some good things, but what you're doing now is inspiring us. What is your secret? There's no secret. Just love what you do and do it. And what happens is, for me, like I love visualizing. I'm a visual, they call it visual leader. And so I lead by the things that I know in my heart and my mind. It's great for me, you know. And I think that I love to be happy. I think there's a thing about joy and happiness. Like I was talking to somebody a few years ago. Happiness is the examples in reality of your joy. Joy is the emotion. So happiness is your friends, your favorite color, your favorite coffee, you know, the way you do your hair. You know, that's happiness, because what it does is it intensifies your emotion of joy. So what happens is, if I focus specifically on the things that will intensify my emotion of joy, I have no room for negativity. And so that in itself, for me, as my belief system, has worked for me. Now, there may be other ways that some people may say negativity. I know, like, basketball players, they post all these things on the wall, and it's like, you know, all this bad media, and they use it as a way to practice. But again, whatever works for you, you know. But for me, it's the positive thinking aspect. Yeah.
Next.
What's your favorite book?
Ooh, favorite book. I have
This one.
Yeah, favorite. I have many. I think one that has changed me thus far to this day, well, that I just recently read, was the autobiography of Nelson Mandela. I thought his story, I'm getting goosebumps now, I may start crying, so bear with me. I've always heard, of course, know the stories about Mandela, but to read his autobiography, to have documentation of what he went through and how he changed, and what it's amazing to me. It was a very it took me to another level. And so for me, I realized that, you know, you don't compare your life to other people. You're like, I need to do more. This is unbelievable. You went through how many years of your life in this little box, and you come out and be the president. Like, that's amazing. And so I read a lot of autobiographies. I think his is one of the most amazing. There's a book, The Alchemist by Pablo Coelho. Oh, some of you read it? Yeah, amazing author, amazing writer, amazing book. And there's another one was called The Dream Giver by Bruce Wilkinson, and that's another good one that I love.
Another one?
I have one slightly impertinent question. Are
Yes.
you married?
I'm not married.
I didn't see that one coming.
I didn't see that either. They cheering her on and clapping.
Any other?
You gotta love Norway.
The thing is, we will end this part, but I will ask you, we will have some music afterwards. And the thing is, we have a few copies. It's good, you should read it, because I thought that I learned something in 52 years, but I didn't before I read this one. And you can have it signed today. We can buy it directly from the author. and we will do that afterwards. But you have a couple of topics that you love talking about, or you have like these things coming up every month that this is the thing. Speak freely. I'll give you 7 minutes, 10 minutes,
Okay,
whatever.
so, yeah.
And you can stand up if you want to.
I don't know. I feel comfortable. Is this okay? Is this okay? My whole thing is just to be great. There's nothing more for me to really put out there. I mean, if you mind, can I tell you a story? Do you mind? All right, so this is something I always tell while I'm in the States, while I travel and do speaking engagements. So, and it goes something like this. Like there was 100 chickens in a chicken coop, right? Each and every day, these chickens did everything together. They ate together, they slept in the same area of space, they played together, they grew up together. 100 chickens in a small chicken coop. But one day, one of those chickens had a dream, an epiphany. And he asked himself, why am I in this chicken coop when the sky is so blue, the sun is so brightly warm, you know, but down here it's too small. He also noticed that his feathers were more ruffled. He noticed that his body was bigger. He noticed that when he started to talk to himself, his voice was different. So he goes to breakfast and he says, you know, why do we eat the same portions every morning? And all the chickens replied, don't ask that question, because here in this chicken coop, we all eat the same portions because that's what chickens do. He says, okay, no problem. He decides to go they have this little game where they game that they play, running back and forth in the small chicken coop. So when he takes off for the run, he doesn't look back, but as he's running, he's noticing that his feet is coming off the ground. He gets a little nervous, so he looks back. And when he looks back, he noticed that his friends and the people that he was growing up with and eating the same portion of food with were a little far behind in this small chicken coop. So he says, yo, what are you doing? You know, come on, like, why did you stop? And they all reply and come back. And when he walks back over, he says, you cannot run that fast. He says, I was not running fast. He said, yes, you were. And we noticed that your feet were coming off the ground. We don't do that here because in this chicken coop, we all eat, we all run at the same speed, and we all do the same things. He says, but why? And right before they gave him the same answer, 5 birds fly over the chicken coop. Not 100, not 1,000, just 5. 99 chickens started going crazy in this small chicken coop, right? But out of that one chicken just looks up, or that one bird looks up. And one of those birds out of the 5 comes down and says, hey, what are you doing down here in this chicken coop? He's, what do you mean? He's like, what are you doing down here? He says, well, this is where I belong. This is where my friends are, my family's here. You know, this is what, every day we do this, this is where chickens belong. Who told you that you were a chicken? Don't you look like me? Aren't your feathers more ruffled than other chickens? Don't you have this particular energy about yourself when you wake up in the morning? He said, you know what? Today was that day that everything that you're telling me is that moment. He said, because you're not a chicken, you're a hawk. You see, chickens can't fly, but hawks can. But sometimes there's moments when, and this is something interesting, birds have to jump out the nest to know if they can fly or not. You have to jump out the nest. The nest isn't that big. When you jump off, do you fly or do you not? Some birds don't make it. Some fall and they mess up their wing and they got to sit there until somebody comes, or they just have to just deal with what they're dealing with. So the question to you is, you know, what situations or individuals in your life is trying to hold you down? Who's telling you that you can't fly, that you can't run fast? Who's telling you that your company or what you have is not amazing, isn't great, or can't be great? Because those are the chickens in your life that you got to get rid of. You have to get rid of them. Because if you don't, your entire life will be like a chicken coop. Constantly asking yourself, why am I here? Why am I stressing? Why does life have to be this way? You have the entire world in the palm of your hand. You can swim you can swim the ocean. There's only one ocean. It's different, you know, we name it different parts of one ocean. You can go to any country you want. You can make friends from any parts of the world. They can speak whatever languages. You can be a musician, you can be an artist, you can be whatever you want to be. So why not do that? This one life. What I do, and this is something interesting, I tell people all the time, like I have a piece of paper, actually I have it in my wallet. I put down the age that I am, and then I put down, so say, let's give you a great example. If I have age 40 on my left, I ask myself, I have 10 years to be 50. That means it's only 10 summers. How many weekends is that? That means there's only going to be 10 Christmases, there's going to be 10 Thanksgivings, there's only going to be 10 holidays that I love. Who am I going to be with in those holidays? I only get 10 of them, if I make it to see 10 of those. So with this time that I have, that if hopefully I'm able to experience these 10, what am I going to do with that? How can I live life to the best of my ability to fly as high as a hawk? Because at the end of the day, hawks don't fly with many people. Hawks doesn't fly with many birds. Chickens, it's many. You can go to a chicken coop and see many of them. But hawks always fly with few. And you have to be able. You gotta fly. I cannot stress it enough. I can tell you, if I showed you the places that I lived in a we call it the projects, and let's say it's about 22, 25 floors. There was a 1 bedroom. I didn't have a bed. We would live in shelters. So one day my mom ended up moving us into one of the projects, 1 bedroom apartment, so my mom stayed there. But the bag of clothes that I took everywhere with me, these big garbage black bags, I would have to sleep on it. And the clothes that was in this bag is the same clothes that I would use. There were times that I would wear the same clothes 3 times out the week. There were times where, because we had to wash and dry it and we didn't have money for it, we would have to wash our clothes in the sink and then use the oven to dry it. I've experienced what it's like to not have food. To know what it's like to, when you're driving down the street and there's someone sitting there asking you for money. That was me at 14, at 15. And what was very heartbreaking for me was when I started to play basketball, and I started to see many people, and the coach drove up one day to the stop sign and see me asking him for money. He had no clue what I was going through in my life. But here I am talking to you in Oslo, Norway, telling you that your location is not your destination, telling you to enjoy life, to find and make as many friends as possible, and make a business, make a company that's so amazing that no matter where you go in the world, they know about it. Because you put time and effort to achieve something that everyone can benefit from. Steve Jobs isn't here, but we still have an iPhone. We still use the iPad. Because that's what it's about, creating a legacy that the next generation can have and appreciate. Because you only live as long as the generation that knows about you and what you have done to make sure that they on the next level. If you cannot provide for the next generation, your name will never echo in the halls of eternity. So if you are a creator, which you are as an entrepreneur, create something. And also be aware it's not about you, it's about them. And when you do that, with not being selfish, you will see longevity. You will see wealth. You will see what love is. You will see how lives have been saved and changed. How many people have got their lives saved because something they filmed on an iPhone or what someone texted to them? Creating Facebook allowed me to be here. Mark Zuckerberg, if he never had that idea, I may not have been in Norway, because the person that got me here was Christian. I think he's here, but he reached out. We've been connected through Facebook. If Mark said I'm not going to create Facebook, I would have never met my friend Christian. And that would not have led me to Prashant, which led me here. So you have to look at it in that aspect. Pay attention to the details. Be great in your work ethic. Be great that your process is the most important thing. Your process, not the reward. Because in the process where you gain your friends, is where you learn how to achieve something that has never been achieved before. And those are the moments that you celebrate in the process. Don't celebrate when you sign the contract or when your company goes global or no. Celebrate when you got your first meeting. Celebrate when you got your first contract. Celebrate when you actually created the contract and know that it's correct. Celebrate when you actually got your first accountant. Celebrate it. Celebrate when someone says, you know what, I love your idea and I want to help us any way possible. I will volunteer to help you. Celebrate that, because that's a part of your process. And when you do that, you'll see amazing things.